Hello literature connoisseurs. Let's begin chapter 12 of Tribulation Force. The chapter begins with Buck as he gets a call from Cardinal Matthews regarding an interview he asked for. The Cardinal was impressed by Buck's writing, which goes to show how easily impressed he is. An appointment is made so Buck can interview the Cardinal. Buck buys some Chinese food and brings it over to eat with Chloe. She remarks that her dad will be mad he missed it because he loves Chinese food. Buck pulls out a surprise portion he bought for her father. Sorry, whose pants is he trying to get into? Maybe he needs to smooth things over with cock block Ray. Rayford finally arrives home and he finds that college girl Chloe has no idea how to set up an email account. What did she take in school? Homemaking. Buck sets her up with one so she can contact him. They had to ignore all the pictures of Robert Redford her brother had stashed in his computer. Joking aside, this is strange because when these books came out the internet was readily available and most elementary schools would teach how to create email accounts. How institutionalized are these authors that simple common knowledge is unknown to them? In the early 2000s my 70-year-old aunt knew how to create and use email. There is no reason for Chloe to be this clueless. Rayford examines the chocolates and Buck remarks that whoever sent them has good taste because of how expensive they are. There is more sickening banter between Buck and Chloe that the authors need to get over it, already. It's not cute, it's nauseating. The scene shifts to Chloe dropping Buck off at the airport after one of the nightly Childish Force meetings. We get told that Rayford insisted that they keep Buck's car while he's on the trip. They arrive at the airport and Buck complains that they arrived on time. Chloe remarks that she likes to be early so that she doesn't have to struggle trying to run through at the last minute. Buck comments that he feels that way too. So why is Buck lying again? He was just crying like a 3-year-old that they arrived early. Buck and Chloe are perfect for each other because they can change each other's diapers when they get full. Which seems to happen often in these books. Skipping past more useless banter, the scene changes to Rayford as he arrives at the same airport looking for Chloe. Not sure why he didn't drive there with them to begin with. The scene shifts back to Chloe and Buck as they wait for Buck to board his plane. We get another dose of vomit-inducing content but the topic gets back into how in the previous book that Chloe not only acts like a 3-year-old but also eats like one. We get reminded that Buck had bought her a cookie and she smeared it all over her face as she ate. Then, if you remember, Buck wiped some schmutz off her face and ate it. Insert the sound of someone vomiting here. Chloe and Buck come up with a plan that starts with Buck buying both of them large cookies. Then during the peace treaty signing both Buck and Chloe are supposed to eat the cookie at the exact same time. Scene changes to Rayford as he wakes up early the next morning. He finds the large cookie and leaves a note saying that he ate it then as a joke wrote, "Just kidding," on the back. He changes and goes out to jog. Scene changes to Buck as he sits on the plane with the Cardinal. Buck asks why the Cardinal kept it secret that he was a candidate to be the next Pope. The Cardinal deflects by offering champagne and of course Buck refuses though I doubt he was ever like this. Odd how twisted his character is that he no longer drinks but still acts like an asshole to his coworkers. The Cardinal reveals that it has already been decided that he is the new Pope. He warns that Buck is supposed to keep this secret but when has Big Mouth Buck ever kept anything secret? Buck seems shocked by this but isn't he supposed to be the smartest guy in the room? This really should not be so shocking. So the Cardinal reveals that he's telling Buck all this secret info because he likes Nikolai and Nikolai likes Buck. Scene changes to Rayford as he calls Hattie and demands to speak with her privately before he meets with Nikolai about the pilot's job. Hattie agrees although Rayford is acting like his typical self and treating her like shit. Hattie mentions that she is in a relationship with someone and Rayford berates her for joking about that. She tells him that she is serious but he doesn't take the news well. Rayford hangs up the call with Hattie and Chloe walks in. She finds the note and once she realizes it was a joke she berates her father for doing it. They start watching the television as the peace treaty is going to be signed. A reporter addresses the watchers and makes mention that the world religions are trying to come together in peace to speak about global issues. The reporter then mentions that ecumenism has failed in the past but they are trying to bring unity. I looked up ecumenism because I was not sure what it meant. Ecumenism is a movement within Christianity that promotes cooperation and unity between different Christian denominations. The goal is to restore the sense of unity that early Christians shared. In other works, the authors aren't recognizing the other religions but only see Christian denominations as the world's religions. Typical that Christians love to hate themselves and others. Chloe takes out her cookie as the camera centers on Buck for some unknown reason. He takes out his cookie and they both eat theirs at the exact same moment. Even Rayford makes a remark about this and leaves before he gets as sick as the rest of us are of this nonsense. The story jumps back to the Cardinal as he continues his spiel about how all religions are going to convert to global community faith. Which tries to sound like universalism of all religions, but remember, the authors just let it slip they only consider Christianity as the only religion. It seems from the questions asked by reporters that the Catholic Church seems to make the lead as orchestrating this new religion. Which is reminiscent of the hatred Protestants have towards Catholics. Buck wonders if Chloe saw him eat the cookie. He reflects that he was witnessing the formation of a new religion where all religions, that are just Christians, are agreeing to put their beliefs aside. This makes no sense because if these religions are putting aside their beliefs and theology, then is it really a religion? Basically, the authors are creating a Christian-only country club with a religious sticker slapped on. This just basically proves that the predictions of the Bible are foolish because even the authors can't conceive a way to fulfill what the Bible says. What started with their fake witnesses is moving on, and the only way to rectify all this is to ignore what their holy book says. Buck finishes eating and climbs down from the table to ask a nonsensical question. The exact wording is, how does this tenet of the basic goodness of humankind jibe with the idea that the bad people have been winnowed out? How did they miss possessing this basic goodness? Basically, he is trying to ask, why did the disappearances happen if everyone is good? The Cardinal objects by saying he is not going to argue theology with Buck, but then he states that the disappearances were a cleansing that removed all the bad people in the world from it. So we get no real answer to the question. The disappearances have yet to be explained publicly other than Christians thinking they have the answer. Buck's comment makes no sense because quoting that an unknown phenomena happened does not disprove whether a person is good or bad. Certain Christians might think it's the rapture, but since there is no definite answer, just guesswork, then that question is not a defeater for the Cardinal's idea that people are good. Buck's comment is akin to asking, if Thor doesn't throw lightning bolts when it rains, then why does it snow during the winter time? Basic Christian non sequitur fallacy. Nikolai suddenly appears and the crowd erupts in cheers. He takes a few questions from the press. One question that gets asked is, how is the new temple in Jerusalem going to be built when the Dome of the Rock was built on it? This has led to much controversy because Islam refuses to have their holy place removed from the temple site. Nikolai responds that the Islamic leaders have agreed to have the Dome of the Rock moved to New Babylon. Remembering this is the new location of the United Nations. Nikolai drones on and on about how the world is coming together under a one-world currency, a one-world religion, and a one-world government. Nikolai decided he's going to name these new changes to the global community. The press conference breaks up and Nikolai approaches Buck. Buck threatens him, but Nikolai shrugs it off by asking if Buck is ready to accept his offer. Buck plays coy by saying not yet. This scene breaks up as Buck goes over to the Cardinal and asks why Nikolai did not announce that the Cardinal was to become the next pope. The Cardinal quickly loses patience with Buck. Scene changes to Rayford as he arrived for his meeting and he phones useless Bruce. Rayford talks about how he doesn't want to meet with Nikolai and Bruce reminds him of how evil he is. Hattie approaches him and Rayford loathes her because he still blames her for the imaginary affair he had in his mind while she knew nothing about it. There is some good Christian love there to blame others and expect them to pay for all your own faults. Hattie speaks to Rayford and she acts cordially towards him, but he in typical Christian fashion starts complaining that she and her boss have no right to invade his life. The chapter finally ends, and this ends chapter 12 of Childish Force. This chapter alone is so jam-packed that it proves why all this is childish. See you next time for chapter 13.